Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, Commissioner.
People and organizations that say. Yeah. And then I just said, I'm the vote. I'm not sure who else is gonna be supervisor. Tom is the only one who has access to that. Because I saw it.
Okay. Let's get going here and call the meeting, the Larimer Regional Opioid Abatement Council Region 2 to order. It is 2:01. I do see Commissioner Jody Shaddock-McCallie online. Oh, good, I've got now. We do have a quorum. I do know that Mayor Pro Tem Mason will not be in attendance today. And I do see Rupa on representing the city of Fort Collins. So we've got 4 of the 5 voting members, so we can begin going. First is call to order. We have done that. We've got a quorum. Public comment. Does anybody from the community want to make a public comment to the ROAC of any agenda items that are not on the agenda? Anything that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move on. Item 3 on the agenda is approval of the May 22nd meeting minutes. Any conversation or a motion?
I'll move to approve the.
To approve the minutes from.
Commissioner, you're cutting in and out pretty bad.
I'll approve I move to approve the minutes of May 22nd's meeting.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any further conversation? Hearing none, does anybody oppose? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. We'll move on to our quarterly financial report, and I'll move it over to Janelle.
Today we'll review budget to actual financials through June 15th. Revenues are at 3.67 million year to date, which is an increase of about 11,000 from last month, and that's just due to gain on interest. Expenditures to date total 1.5 million, and all grantees with the exception of CSU have received their initial payments. $162,000 in expenditures remain unallocated and available for future use. And that is it for financials. Not a whole lot in this one.
As always, thorough and concise. We appreciate it. You know, any questions from the council members? Anybody online with a question? Hearing none, we'll move along. All right, agenda item 5 is election of officer. As we all know, we did lose Beth Jones. She is retiring this week, I believe. And Beth served as secretary. And according to our bylaws, whenever there's a vacancy for one of our positions there, such as secretary, the council needs to vote on who will serve as the next secretary. So we do know Rupa is replacing Beth, but I want to open that up to the council for conversation, or anybody wants to nominate somebody or nominate themselves to serve as secretary.
Mr. Chair, I would like to nominate trustee Youngland if she would accept that nomination to serve as secretary.
You go over the duties of the secretary, so you have something that, takes minutes anyway, so.
Yes, the duties of the secretary, there are a couple of things. One is they review the minutes that Brooke puts out, along as me, as well as me. So they approve the minutes, review the minutes, providing feedback, clarification, those things. There's that item, as well as they are the spokesperson for the ROAC. So anytime we get an inquiry, whether that's media, whether it's somebody in the community, the secretary gets that information and responds accordingly. So there is that at times can be a little busy. I would say right around when funding is opening up, Beth would be probably emailing 3 or 4 times a week with information, or if the media was wanting any information or any questions, it would go to the secretary first.
Sure, I'll give it a try. As long as I have some guidance and help with, what that material would be. I wouldn't feel comfortable just pushing out material that I wouldn't have somebody else be, looking at as well.
I would say that I work very closely with Beth and making sure we got the right.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely. I see your hand up, Commissioner.
Yeah, I was going to just echo what you said, Mr. Chair. Usually Beth had coordinated with both you and I just to kind of coordinate, information and responding. So it was a really good working relationship, and certainly we would certainly partner with you and not leave you out there blowing in the wind of emails. So I hope that you'll consider this. And I don't know if you heard my nomination, but I don't know whether you self-nominated, but I would love to see you serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'll accept the nomination.
Okay, so that would be a second, then I would believe. Any further conversation on the motion acceptance of trustee Youngling serving as ROAC secretary? Hearing none. All those in favor of this, signal by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Does anybody oppose? None. So, well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Make sure your name tag and everything on the website reflects that you are the secretary now. All right, wonderful. Moving right along to grant administration. I do believe John Boss is on Zoom for us, if we have any questions or so forth. But the first one is to approve Fort Collins Rescue Mission 2024 final report. So we will ask the folks from the Fort Collins Rescue Mission to come on up and provide their final report in 5 to 6 minutes, please.
All right. So with this report, I feel like I've been here enough and presented where the personal relationship, or you all could actually do a presentation on Fort Collins Rescue Mission and Harvest Farm alike. So I intentionally cut it down to hopefully the fastest final report. And you guys are more than welcome to ask as many questions as you might have for me. Let's go to the next slide, please. So for our final report, we went ahead and we set some pretty good objectives for both Fort Collins Rescue Mission and Harvest Farm. Harvest Farm with having a goal of increasing enrollment to the program from Fort Collins Rescue Mission from our shelter. And many of you remember we did that through a number of initiatives. First and foremost, Harvest Farm sending a staff to be at our shelter several times per week to engage with guests who are staying there. And then also inviting guests to come and take a tour of Harvest Farm. And that's been remarkably successful. Just last week, we had an individual come and take a tour of Harvest Farm, and immediately upon being there after the tour said, "Can I just stay? Can I just stay? I don't want to go back to the shelter. I've been sober for 72 hours. I can pass a drug test. If I leave, I'm going to relapse. Can I stay? Will you guys go get my stuff from the shelter?" We said, absolutely, that's not a problem. Let's go ahead and do it. And so we set a goal, and we more than doubled our goal. So you can see at the time of this report, we had enrolled 45 individuals from Fort Collins Rescue Mission. We go by fiscal year, so our fiscal year is going to end at the end of this month. I'm very excited to report that we will have hit over 50 men coming into the Harvest Farm program from Fort Collins Rescue Mission from our shelter, meaning that we are serving the most vulnerable in our community at no cost to them, allowing them to receive services from anywhere from 6 months to 1 year in our program, which has been fantastic. The next goal that we set was for Fort Collins Rescue Mission to increase guest engagement in our small groups that we provide. So small group engagement could be anything from AA or NA to Celebrate Recovery. It could be a Bible study. It could be a men's group. There's not a limit or a clear definition outside of we want it to be pro-social and pro-recovery. We want the individuals staying at our shelters to really engage with the community and realize that they can step outside of themselves and receive additional support. And so again, with that, you'll see here's a step back. We did more than double for that goal as well. And it shows the amazing nature and work of our staff and the power of intentionality in naming something. With both of these, yes, we received funding, which allowed us to do it, which is amazing, but we had staff that initiated and engaged and made the concerted effort to say, you know what, this is a goal. We want you to engage with the community. We want you to get sober. We want you to get housed. And they really executed. We're very fortunate to be able to set objectives and markers and have staff that will consistently exceed those objectives. Next slide, please. Our budget, which is very important. So a few things that you'll notice here, we underspent slightly on case managers, and that's due to they didn't fully utilize benefits that we offer as an organization. We also overspent, though, on our community life coordinators, which are those who are frontline staff who engage with the shelter. And we overspent on that, and this was brought up previously in the ROAC, because we gave them a raise. And these are staff who are every day doing everything from engaging with someone in a mental health crisis to cleaning up human waste, to then doing laundry, to ensuring the safety and security of our shelter. So we did give them a raise, which is very appropriate, very well deserved. And that put us over slightly along with overtime, because during the winter, as many of the council are aware, we operate a seasonal overflow shelter, and it is very hard to staff seasonal shelter work. It can be hard to staff shelter in general, but seasonal is particularly difficult. So we had a lot of staff who were working 85 plus hours per week in order to do that, to ensure that those most vulnerable in our community weren't experiencing exposure to the elements and had somewhere safe to be on those cold winter nights. Next slide, please. That's it. My record time presentation, fastest one yet. Yes, please.
Thanks for the presentation, and yes, I'm beginning to think I can anticipate your words. On your numbers of that 8, whatever, doing the small groups.
Yeah.
So is that all coming between the shelter and the farm?
No, that's
Or-
just the shelter.
That's just the shelter
Yeah.
alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's instances of engagement. So I don't want to represent that that's 800 plus individuals engaged with those groups. Those are instances of engagement.
Okay.
So at Harvest Farm is much greater requirements for individual engagement. It's anywhere from 3 to 4 groups required per week. At shelter, for those who are staying in our reserve beds, we really encourage them to engage just once, is the expectation. So the bar is pretty low there. I think that's appropriately so.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Of course.
Other questions? I just want to make a comment, fantastic work, and you're right, it is the most followable. And it's great, the story, I love how Charlie tells stories, because that's real. When you have an individual that shows up onto your beautiful campus there at Harvest Farm and beautiful Wellington, and they know this is the place to get help, get in the recovery treatment. So great work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's been exciting. So we're excited that the council has helped support the mission, the efforts of our mission of Harvest Farm, particularly as we get ready to expand both Fort Collins Rescue Mission and Harvest Farm. As we look to build a new shelter, which has been approved officially for groundbreaking and building, which is really exciting from our campaign. This work and the work from you all has allowed us to continue to serve those in our community. And I don't know what we would have done otherwise. If you recall, when we initially asked for this grant, we had lost funding for some of our community life coordinators. And so we were in this position where it was about to be winter, where we didn't know how we were going to be able to do the 24/7 shelter. We thought we were going to have to go back to a pretty archaic model of, are you coming at 8? Everyone line up around the corner in the snow. And then at 7 a.m., we wake you up really early and ask you to leave and have you go out on the streets. And so this council contributed in a huge way to us not having to do that. So we're very grateful and appreciative. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Before,
Mr. Ch-
yeah. Oh, yes.
If you're looking for a motion, I'll make a motion to approve the final report.
We got a motion from the commissioner. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second from trustee Youngland, secretary. Any further conversation? All right, anybody oppose that motion? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Great work, I appreciate it. All right, moving along, approval of Rise Above 2024 final report. But within that piece, there is a carryover request from Rise Above where there are going to be two separate motions, but they kind of interlink. So just be aware that will be B and C. So I'll turn it right over to you.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Hi, everyone. Kent McLennan, Executive Director for Rise Above Colorado. Thanks for having me back. Do you have the slides that I sent over in there? It'll probably be easier just visually rather than the written report, but want to just update you on some of the progress towards the two goals that were established in our prevention grant. And then we can talk about the carryover or the extension on that request. So yes, starting to look familiar. There we go. Thank you. We can go to the next one from there. So just a reminder on the project objectives for this. Our first goal was supporting the ability to localize the statewide Connect Effect campaign for Larimer County and Larimer County youth input and faces and data that was contained within that. We also talked about deploying school-based opioid and fentanyl prevention resources. So we'll show you kind of what we're doing in both of those spaces. So we can go to the next slide. First of all, the campaign was up as of December, as I think I reported probably the last time I was here. The campaign ran through social media from the end of December through the end of April. We'll look at numbers here in a second. That was due to, again, a lot of collaboration with local youth, giving us input on not only the data that we were sharing with them, but which data to elevate as part of the messages that they were bought into. So that the look and feel of it was consistent with the images that they were then having themselves represented in. So if we go to the next slide, a sample of that creative, again, just showing you a couple of the messages, those social norming messages, 81% that manage stress without misusing substances. So elevating those positive numbers. That was just a screenshot that would obviously advance in terms of most Larimer County teens would either support a friend, not use prescription pills, those sorts of things. So those were just some basic samples of what we did on both Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok. We go to the next one. We'll see just overall results from the campaign, about 1.3 million impressions, just under 10,000 clicks that drove to the Larimer County page with additional information. So about 9,500 of those. Snapchat, as I mentioned before, was the highest in terms of the performance with clicks and doing much better than the sort of established benchmarks for these sectors, twice the click-through rate. Instagram also did really well, above the click-through rate sort of benchmarks. TikTok did not perform quite as well, but sometimes just the combination of awareness in different platforms helps us with general awareness that then drives them to click in other platforms. Sometimes people don't want to click and leave the feed that they're in. So go to the next slide. So that's sort of the campaign that was out there, that larger messaging. The rest is really through the partnerships that we worked on with the folks at Prevention Research Center and building through those partnerships with the 3 school districts. So just reporting again, we were able to do trainings in all 3 school districts with staff and around the not-prescribed lesson, which is the prescription drug misuse lesson that then has a fentanyl module as part of it. And then we were able to really dig in with Poudre School District, who mandated that this training be done by all of their health education teachers and then implemented in those schools. So we are super excited about this bullet point and number with 2,600 Larimer County youth that received and engaged in the lesson this year. That's really, really strong numbers for a single county. In fact, I think it's probably the biggest. I haven't compared that with all of the other counties, but this effort and this initiative totally made a difference here in terms of increasing that awareness with our Larimer County youth around these issues. And so super excited about that. We are continuing to work, again, PSD dug into this a little deeper, not to say that Thompson and Estes Park are unwilling. There are capacity issues and priority issues that they're having to juggle, which we all understand. So we'll continue in year 2 to try to build on that with this current grant in all 3 locations. If I can go to the next one, I'll just show you a couple of results related to this. These are numbers. This first block was data from the survey that I shared with you a year ago, that in terms of how strong some of the numbers were for Larimer County, even at baseline here in terms of attitudes about being significantly less likely to use substances as a stress management tool, seeing great risk in use of prescription opioids, and the willingness to help their friends. This is new data from the work that we did. Those 2,600 youth, as we go through that, we start to look at we have as many of them as we can get to do a post-survey after completing that lesson. And so these 4 bullets show you a little bit of the change in before and after in terms of knowledge base around the risks of misuse of prescription drugs, around fentanyl and counterfeit pills, and then perhaps even more importantly, some of the changes in attitudes and the perceived risk of harm going up from, like in this particular case, mixing substances and that risk going 50% saw risk before, everybody did afterwards. And then supporting friends as well, where only 30% said that they would try to support a friend, where 80% afterwards had that attitude of wanting to be an advocate to support their peers. And so those are the kinds of changes that we want to see in both knowledge and attitudes with the lesson. So, and got it to a number of youth this year. So we're really excited about that. I'll flip to the next slide, but I want to just answer any questions over any of those data pieces that you might have before we talk about the.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope you can hear me. I'm on the northern edge of Wyoming going to Montana, so forgive me. I'm curious, that is an outstanding number of youth, and I really want to emphasize how much I appreciate having all 3 school districts involved. At least they got some of this training, and it sounds like Poudre really committed to reaching, across the whole district. So that number you say is probably the largest in the whole state. Is there a follow-up with those students or with those teachers, 6 months later or next school year, just to see how, did they go share this information with someone else? Did they help stop someone from mixing prescription drugs? That 100% number is really striking, and I'm just curious, what is the follow-up with this? I'm not sure there is one, but I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So from it's hard to track the kids from that perspective. All of the survey that they do is anonymous. They feel comfortable responding honestly. So we don't track the youth per se. When we're able to do more in-depth engagement, and I know we hinted at some of those things, particularly at Fort Collins High School, where we have the same kids going through the same set of resources, we may have an opportunity in those cases in this next year to be able to ask them about their ongoing changes in their attitudes and behaviors. So I think that's a possibility. With the data that we have currently, we don't. The goal, though, to your other question about the educators is the sustainability of this, that what we're trying to build here is not just us delivering a lesson to them. It is the educators in the classroom that are there semester in, semester out that can continue to deliver this year in and year out without necessarily needing more training. That's the goal, is that we should be able to be here and continue to grow, that those teachers continue to implement this lesson. So we will continue to follow up with those educators to see how that they feel about how the lesson engaged. Yes.
Remind me again that the age, so like Pooter required all their health educators to go through the program, and then what age or what grades was that delivered to then at student value?
Yes, so I don't know, it was middle and high school. I can't tell you exactly how many of each were in that 2,600 off the top of my head. I could pull that, but we did train all middle and high school. And that's what it's age appropriate for the not responding.
So I didn't think it was anything in the grade school.
Yes, that is correct.
Just to follow up on, are you going to do a longitudinal study with the educators to see how they're incorporating this into their programs? You know, it's great to have the training this year, but what happens next year and the following year? And then could you also have them survey the students? I know it's anonymous, but
Yeah.
if they're engaging with them to see, you know, next year or whatever, again, to have some longitudinal data about, it's great to survey somebody once and I've just gone through this, so I'm going to have that, but what is their attitude a year from now or 2 years from now?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And the retention, as I mentioned, is huge just for sustainability for all of us in terms of how they reach, more youth, because there's a different seventh grader and a different, 10th grader every year, right? And so the opportunities to hit them at those different points. I think it's really important that we share some of the data that we did pull from the post surveys. So again, that those educators see the value in what they delivered, right? And so that as part of that'll be part of our retention strategy in communicating with the educators that have been trained, and as we continue to encourage others in other districts to come on board as well and help us implement this.
I'll make a motion to approve the final 2024 report.
Got a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. For any further conversation, I just want to add that one of the goals of the ROAC with all the work is keeping it sustainable. And you're doing that. I guess going on long term, the ROAC need to be looking at social media, because that was a big piece of it. I know I got two in high school they're glued to those things, and they brought up, God, I've seen a lot of ads about fentanyl. That's scary stuff. And that was, I'm pretty sure it would work. So is that something the ROAC needs to think about investing in future? Because that's something that's probably got to go ongoing as we move forward.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And yes, I mean, this year 2 budget is, because we did you all helped us do the legwork of building and localizing the campaign. We don't have as many of the costs on the upfront side, but still the paid media costs will be there. That's the bulk of a good chunk of the budget for year 2 that you all approved. So yes, I think to continue to keep those messages going is important. And right now, I don't know that there's going to be statewide coverage of this from the Connect Effect from the AG's office. There's no evidence that they are going to put dollars towards it in the immediate future. So it really is leaving it up to local communities to keep extending this message. And we want to be a partner in helping to do that then is, supported by some of these on the ground activities. that we do with it. But yes, so there is, I think, some ongoing costs, but hopefully not at the same, the same level as what we needed and what to get going.
Fantastic. All right. We got a motion. Anybody oppose the motion? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Thank you for your work. Yes.
So question on the carry forward and however the language is, and I know I had submitted some of the documents. If you would prefer that this, rather than be carryover, but be thought of as an extension for a period of time till the 5,800 is spent, we can do that. We talked about the fact that this is going to be dedicated towards a fall media spend. So we're going to be meeting with the media buyers next month to start to map out how do we want to spend the dollars over the course of this next grant period. This would be at the front of that, so we can certainly commit to a time period to say we will have these funds expended by, I think I said September in my letter. So if that is preferable to then just purely a carry forward into our year 2 grant, we're opening to it.
Within that letter, I was trying to pull it up, was it a specific date in September?
I believe we said September 30th. I think if we close the month, I think that's probably what it was.
So for members, the initial contract has expired. They do, thank you for down to 26 cents, that they want to use that for carryover to be used as specific for purposes that was within that contract. And that $5,881.26 will be used by September 30th. So that's the request, correct?
Correct.
Any questions?
So last time we had asked about how to handle this request, and we had talked about it being an extension, not necessarily a carryover. Is that what you're proposing as opposed to extending it out so that you can finish the spending?
I'll jump in. His contract has expired, so
Okay.
this would be a carryover. Because
Okay.
the contract has expired.
Right, rather than, I wasn't sure whether it would be a carryover into our second year contract, which is active, but we can certainly we would spend this first before we start to spend down on
To get into the second year, we have to get the lawyer involved, but the carryover would be right now, what I understand, the cleanest and easiest to do.
And of course, I guess I don't want to assume, but I would want to see then, the report of that carryover or what funds you use for that media out of this to be detailed separate from your contract.
That's fine, we can certainly do that.
So, Mr. Chair, I agree with what Trustee Youngland just said. And I think having how many impressions, engagements, all that would be in that report. But I would make that motion to approve the carry forward amount of $5,881.26.
And in that motion, Commissioner, that there will be a report out of that, correct?
Yes, with the report out with the social media or the media buy and impressions and have that separate from the other grant application or contract.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Trustee Youngman, any further conversation or questions regarding the motion? But I want to make sure, Ropa, because I don't see you up there, that your hand's not up and I'm missing you.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm turning off my video because my internet's not very stable.
No worries. All right, not hearing anybody oppose that motion? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate you.
Good job.
All right. I'm going to ask CSU to come up and they're going to talk about another contract extension request. And this goes just around how school districts work, where May kids are out, or students are out, they don't get back up to August. So it just creates a few challenges for Nate, but Nate's going to come up and talk a little bit about his extension request.
Yes, and I didn't have any slides or anything like that. But so basically, we're proposing a 6-month extension with the schools being off over the summer for the first 3 months of that. The reason for this extension is that one of our larger school districts, the primary reason, is that one of our larger school districts went through a change in how they did their agreements and forms and all that kind of stuff with their external partners. And it took forever. So probably because they were doing the same thing with us that they were doing with many, many other external partners. And so that put us behind in year 2 in some pretty big deliverables, including the sustainability efforts for the train-the-trainer type stuff and being able to run as many cohorts as we wanted to of the Blues program. So what that extension will include, if it's approved, that school district is going to actually double their efforts in this 3rd year to make up for year 2, and then also achieve the deliverables for year 3. A second main reason for this proposed extension is that our more rural school district really wanted to be deliberate in selecting their evidence-based social and emotional learning program, which we fully supported. We do not want our community partners to rush into making decisions around evidence-based programs. And so that they selected that program in the spring, and so it was a little bit later in that process as well. So the intention is to then spend the remaining in our budget by January or December 31st of this year.
What's that amount?
It's
Silence.
yeah, costs are continuing to come in to hit our budget. It's around 14% of the overall budget, at least right now. It's about 14% of the budget, which is it's around $100,000. And again, it was for these things that are really for sustainability, mainly for the sustainability of the Blues program in that one large school district. And then the evidence-based social emotional.
Any other questions for Dr. Riggs?
I have a question, and again, I apologize. I don't know. Hopefully that's not an emergency call, because we know I silenced it. So since this is getting combined, is there going to be a way in the reports then that you're going to be able to really pull out and so we can understand those funds and how they were distributed?
Yeah, so I had a conversation with John and Tom, and we had discussed keeping the 2 accounts separate.
Okay.
So the first 2 years that we are requesting the extension for will be one account, and we'll be able to track the expenditures from that independently from the year 3 account that will be starting in actually next week in July.
So you're still in year 2, or you finalized that?
Is
this be an extension or a?
Yeah, the intent, and of course it's up to you all, would be to have the year 1 and year 2, or that combined account be an extension for 6 months to complete those deliverables.
Questions? Any other further questions? Motion on section.
I'll make a motion to accept CSU's contract extension request.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Any further conversation? Hearing none. Does anybody oppose the motion? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Thank you for your work. Appreciate it.
Thanks for work.
All right. Okay, that closes our grant administration out for the meeting. We'll move into Health Equity Initiatives update. You all recall a couple meetings ago, we dove into equity and health equity and talking about where some communities that may not be receiving accessible resources when it comes to opioid abatement. And from there, we defined kind of 2 objectives. One was looking at our youth or that have maybe a trauma from opioid overdosing or just opioid addiction, period, as well as looking at our Latin community, making sure we're providing resources there. From that conversation, we talked about, we worked with Jessica Plummer with Behavioral Health Services Department of the county and see if she's got any folks, community members, nonprofits she's worked with through the behavioral health impact dollars. And she gave us a list, and we've reached out to 5 different organizations and given them the information and the dollar amount and what's the purpose of this funding and what those 2 overall objectives are with the health equity. And folks are interested in that and are working on if that aligns within their mission, if that's something they can do. And they're going to look at proposals. We've got 1 back, and that is La Familia. And they have requested to come to you all at the July meeting to pitch their proposal. Others, I believe, are still working on that, and they will get back with Brooke. But the goal is either both July and August to bring proposals on that health equity. We have 1 that's almost done, ready to go for next month. So yes, sir.
Go to the other floor.
We've got right here. We got La Familia, we've got La Cocina, the BIPOC Alliance, the Matthews House, and Larimer County Department of Human Services. Mainly their child support programs. Those were the 5 that we have reached out to. Thanks. Any other questions? Any other feedback or thoughts? Moving right along, we'll get an update on the Larimer County Opioid Abatement Advisory Group. Commissioner, I believe that's in your court.
Yeah, thank you. And Dr. Olson, maybe you can help me remember. I did not pull out my notes as I'm driving. So, and I'm not driving right now, so I'm in the back. I'm just curious. I just wanted to share with you all that we had some really great productive meetings, and we're really looking to get, make sure that we keep the stakeholder and the grantees all involved, and making sure, I think they're going to look to bring a presentation to the ROAC. Forgive me if I thought it was either August, maybe, and we need a little time on the agenda then, but they would like to have some time to us. But it would be probably August and September to kind of show the progress on kind of those outcomes and the metrics and some of the conversations we've been having. But it's been a really great meeting, great discussion, and I really don't have too much else to share unless Dr. Olson can remember the other piece. I just know we wanted to have some time to present back to the ROAC and get approval for some of the documents and things we're pulling together, or that the subgroup is together. So, Dr. Olson, you want to add anything?
Just that one of the things that they'll be coming first with was an environmental scan and assessment of best practices and other practices that are happening across the country that might be of relevance or interest to the committee.
Yes, thank you. I knew that was something I was forgetting. Thank you for that. And I think that, so more to come, and but I think this will be really of a great interest to the ROAC, and I appreciate Dr. Olson adding that. Thank you.
Any questions? Wonderful update, Commissioner and Dr. Olson. All right, seeing none.
And Mr. Chair, may I interrupt just for a moment?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the room, and I hate to ask, but is my intern, this has been one of our first days. I'm just wondering if my intern showed up, and if she did, and she's taking notes for me, could she just wave? If not, maybe she couldn't make it today, but I'm just wondering if my intern's in the room, could you just kind of raise your hand and wave? If not, I don't see any hands up, then I'll know she didn't quite make it. So thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, that concludes our agenda. Well, this is like the earliest.
This is record.
We do on the docket for July, we have the Abundance Foundation final report, the Sheriff's Office co-responder final report. We will get at least one committee member to submit a proposal regarding the health equity funding portion. But those are the things we have for next month. But if that's it, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
All right. Anybody oppose that motion? Great work, everyone. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Happy 4th of July, too. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Happy 4th.
Be safe driving, Jody.
Thank you. I'll have some big news when I get back. Take care, everybody.
On my pocket?